dog, one child, one youth, one dog, you think big, you. Together we can do this in our continent, you. Think big, you. I say one dog, one child, one youth, one dog, you. Think big, you. Together we can do this in our continent, you. Think big, you.
It is with disgust I was listening to a recent speech given by President William Ruto, I think his name is, from Kenya. And he was addressing, I'm not too sure if it's the African Union or African leaders from different states. But the situation that he was describing, it is disgusting to the highest order or the highest level. I just want to pause to welcome the global community of Tiashan. This is Chief Abundance. I think today is the 21st. It is 3:22 in the PM on the continent. We as Afro-Caribbean people, we have to look at the reality of our existence. President William Ruto, he spoke about when the African leaders are being invited, when the continent is being invited, Russia or America or whatever the president, they will send for all of them, 50 heads of state. And he was even saying that if they do not go, they are threat of consequences. How can 50 heads of state be represented at any meeting, whether in Russia, US, or India, and you would have gotten anything meaningful come out of it? As the good gentleman said, most of these meetings are just photo ops. Photo ops. And so then what is the union doing? What is the African Union doing? And so the powers that be, those that Africa and the diaspora depend on for their money, because that's what it is. You are indebted to China, indebted to the US, indebted to countries in Europe, indebted to India, indebted to Russia. And so they can pull and toss you with no respect. China calls you, you must go. They don't have 50 heads of state meeting 50 heads of state. No, they have one president meeting everybody like a child, a classroom. I said to you, Tiashans, the present reality is that all these leaders are made by China. They are made by China. Made in China. That's what it is. And so it's an awful situation. All because they have not utilized their human resources. They have not utilized their natural resources. They have not utilized any proper system of innovation. Hence the reason why the continent remain as is. No proper system, no proper leadership. Oil-rich countries, no electricity. Water-rich countries, no potable water. Mineral-rich countries, but there are no minerals for the people. The task before us is a very huge one. How did we get to this point where the richest continent on earth is host to the poorest people on earth? How do we get to this point? How? I'm still wondering. When I came to Africa first, it was in Cameroon. And that was a wake-up call for me because there are things that I've never experienced in my life. That should tell all of us that this continent is somebody say it was 40 years behind, but it's more than 40 years behind. Is over 50 years behind in certain developments. Over 50 years behind. When I see grown men running behind a bike, a bus, fighting literally as who should carry a load. Somebody come off of a bike, out of a car. You're traveling probably from one city to the next. And so, of course, you have your little bundle behind you, whether a suitcase, whether a bag with vegetables and fruits, you know. And if you see how, mature men are fighting to see who can get that bag to get probably $1 or $1.50. It's a shame. It's a shame. It is not only a shame, but it's a disgrace. There is no respect in that one. I do not belittle occupation because everybody cannot be doctors and nurses and teachers and engineers. That we all know. But at the end of the day, it is the duty and the responsibility of your elected leaders to create a better environment where businesses can grow, where the economy can expand, and stop the narrow-minded approach to economic development. In other words, you first have to develop my pocket before I can develop the people that voted for me. And so the president of Kenya, he really outlined the bitter truth that is facing this continent. I say to the global community because most of us who are in the Tiashan community, we are Afro-Caribbeans. Majority, 95% of us that are in the Tiashan community, or may I say more than 95%, are Afro-Caribbean. We have to arrest this situation. And I don't need to tell you, you are living it every day. You are living it. When I was in Cameroon, I could stay outside and I could see the students and the teachers inside. That is how deplorable the condition. I told you at one time over the news. The news report, a government school, no bathroom. The children outside bearing their butts, and the teachers are going against the building, pissing in today's era, 21st century. No drinking, no potable drinking water. Meanwhile, one minister is burning over 1.5 billion CFA, over 13 million US dollars. When they caught up with him, 48 name brand car on his compound. I'm talking about the first African country that I've been to, Cameroon. 48 cars, one minister, burning 1.5 billion CFA, 13 million US dollars. And pensioners cannot get their money. One lady who started in the service at 18 years of age, retired 4 or 5 years by the time I got the story, and she did not or could not receive, and her pension is $48 a month. $48 a month. After you have gone through the system, $48 a month, and she still could not receive it. May I say to the Tiashan, if we do not stop this madness, if we do not use this period to stop this madness, and it can be stopped, who created the systems around the world is human being. Who created the billionaires and the millionaires are human beings. Blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, and unity of purpose can generate all that we desire. There is nothing that we cannot do in unity. Isn't that what the Infinite said to the antediluvian world? Isn't that what he said to his own people when they were building the Tower of Babel? When he came down and saw that they were in one accord, he said, except I intervene, these people will do what their heart set out to do. I am saying to the global, and this is a call to action. It is a call, a clarion call to action. A clarion call to lay aside self, lay aside greed, lay aside selfishness, lay aside hypocrisy, deceitfulness, lay aside envy and jealousy, lay aside those things that do not grow. Lay aside the weight and let us move on as one people, one voice, one vision, one movement. We have to solidify our resources, our finances, our intellectual capacity. We have to unite. It is non-negotiable. And as a Tiashan community, we cannot go back from where we started. It's not possible. I said it's not possible for us to go back where we started and pretend that the reality does not exist. I have said before that Africa, the Afro-Caribbean country, are on a racetrack with the rest of the world. And as we gather in the stadium to start the race, of which all of us should have started the race at the same time, but Africa should have gotten ahead of the race, because out of her came the West. Out of her came the east. Out of Africa came the north. Out of Africa came the south. But here is the conundrum. And so we all ended up at one place. And I'm just giving you a panoramic view of the reality of where we are. And so Britain, Canada, Australia, Switzerland, Dubai, all of us, including Africa, started the race, started that relay in a crowded stadium. And so when the gun shot, all of us left. But on the way, we, the Afro-Caribbean countries, we drop our baton. And you cannot reach to the next leg without the baton in your hand. And so we had to run back to go forward. And so the second person took the baton and started out. But that second person too dropped the baton and had to run back to give it to the third. By the time we, the Afro-Caribbean countries, would have completed the race, guess what? All the other nations would have already gone. By the time we reached to the end of the race, the stadium would have already been emptied. This is our condition. When you look at the other countries that gave birth behind the Afro-Caribbean countries, look at how they were able to industrialize themselves. Look at how they have industrialized themselves. And so, Tiashans, the time is now. The period is now. This is Chief Abundance.